Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. We are learning Mishna Kesubos, Parak chapter 10, Mishna Daled, Mishna 4. We began it yesterday, so I'll go through what we did yesterday quickly, and then continue. Bisha Yanase Shalosh Nashim. Person was married to 3 wives. Vames, and he died. Kesubos Shalzai Mana, Beshalzai Masai, Beshalzai Shalosh Meyos. One's Kesuba was worth 100. The other one was 200 zuz. The third one was 300 zuz. And as we mentioned yesterday, each Kesuba was written on the same day. So therefore, they're both equal in their claims. If one's rights to a Kesuba actually came earlier than the other ones, then they would have the right to collect their Kesuba in its entire. They have the right to collect their Kesuba before anybody else, and therefore, this Mishnah wouldn't be relevant. But we're talking about where they all are equal. The Ein Shem Elamana. And the only amount of money that's left around is a mana, it's 100 zuz worth. Chalkais b'shava, the Mishnah says they divided up evenly. There's 100 zuz. Each one of their ksubis gives them the right to 100 zuz, and therefore they divided evenly. Hayusham Asayim, let's say there were 200 zuz left. And as the Baratunura adds, we mentioned yesterday, the case is where the woman with the 200 ksuba said to the woman with the 100 ksuba that I'm not going to contest you when it comes to that first 100. I'm not going to contest you in 100 zuz worth, and I'm not going to diminish from you. I'm not going to diminish anything from you because of my claim. Therefore, in that case, Shalmana, the woman, and this is what she said to the woman who had the ksuba of 100. So we say, therefore, Shalmana, the one who had the ksuba of 100, Natalas Chamishim, she takes 50 because from her part, there's only 2 people here involved in the claim in the first 100. So she takes 50. There is 150 left, because don't forget, we're starting off with 200 zuz. The 150 zuz left. Shalmasai Mishal Shalosh Meyos, the woman had the ksuba of 200, and the woman had the ksuba of 300. They will now split up that remaining 150, because the woman who had the ksuba of 200 never relinquished anything regarding the woman of 300, who had the 300 ksuba, and therefore we say that the woman who had the ksuba of 200, the woman who had the ksuba of 300, will divide up the remaining 150 zuz, which is the equivalent of 3 golden dinarim, because a golden dinar is 25 silver dinarim, which is the same thing as a zuz. Okay, now this is where we got up to yesterday. Now we continue. And it's now this next part is going to be very similar to before. Hayusham Shalosh Meyos. Now we have a case where there's 300 left. Now where the 300 left, right? So in 100, all 3 have a right. In 200, 2 of them have a right. In 300, only 1 has a right. And in this case, what happened is like this. In this case, what happened is that the woman who had the 300 zuz ksuba, she said to the other 2 wives, she said to both of them, I will not contest either of you over the first 100 zuz. So she kind of took herself out of the first 100 zuz. Mm-hmm. Okay. By doing that, so what happens now? Shalmana noitelas chamishim. The woman who had the ksuba of a mana, she's going to take 50, because that 100 is split between her and the wife who said, and the wife who had a 200 ksuba, does ksuba. Mm-hmm. So that regarding that first 100, as we'll refer to it, there are 2 women who have the right to divide it up. So that woman who had the ksuba of a mana, what did she end up with? 50. Vishal Masayim, the woman who had the ksuba of 200, she lands up with a mana. She lands up with 100 at the end. Why? She got 50 from the first 100 that she split with the woman who had the ksuba of 100. In the second 100, right, who'd she split that with? The 300. Because the 300 woman never relinquished anything regarding the second 100, being the second 100. So the second 100, who's dividing it up? The wife with the 200 and the wife with the 300. They're dividing up that second 100. Okay, so that means that the woman who had the 200 zuz ksuba, she got 50 from the first 100, 50 from the second 100. She therefore has a mana. Okay, now what's left? There is still 50 from the second 100 left and 100 from the third left. Who was the one who had rights in the third 100? Only the woman who had a 300 ksuba. And therefore she takes that whole 100. She takes 50 from the second 100, the whole 100 of the third 100, and therefore at the end, the shel shalosh meyos, the woman who had the ksuba of 300, shisha shalzav, she lands up with 6 golden dinarim, because she's landing up with 150 zuz, silver dinarim, and 150 silver dinarim come out to being 6 golden dinarim. Okay, so basically what happened here was that the cases that we had, at least these last 2 cases, it's proportional what they are going to be dividing. It comes out that the woman who had 100 zuz ksuba, she landed up with 50. The woman who had a 200 zuz ksuba, she landed up with 200. And the woman with the 300 zuz ksuba landed up with 150. It works out to be proportional. Now the Mishnah says, v'chein, the same thing that will divide proportionally, but according to the amount that they originally started off with. V'chein, the same thing applies in the following case. Shloisha sheitilu l'kis. Literally translate, that means 3 people who put their money into a wallet. It means 3 people who invested in a business together. And one gave 100, and one gave 200, and one gave 300. So the Mishnah says, Pachasu oyhaisiru, if let's say it went down in price, or it went up in price, kach hein cholkin, they will now divide it in a similar way, proportionally to what they put in. Now, what that means is like this. So again, it's a different kind of case. We're not talking about collecting Kesubos here. We're talking about what they invested, and we're talking about profits and losses. However, it's important to bear in mind the following. So first of all, we say that we're talking about here, when we talk about going up and going down, we are talking about the following. I'll read you from the notes. This law applies only where the loss or gain was in the money itself and was not related to business dealings. Now, what does that mean? The money itself went up and down. So they have in the previous note, that is, the money itself gained or lost value. For example, the government changed the currency. They what's it called when you
inflation?
Well, either they either had to down the value of the money, they either had to devaluate the money, or they hiked it. Right? But we're talking about the money itself, which means then we say the monies that they put in, according to the monies that they put in. So now if the value of the money goes down, they lose proportionately. If the money goes up, they gain proportionately. However, if the loss or gain had indeed resulted from business dealings, okay, and they had not stipulated that they would divide it in proportion to each one's contribution. They didn't stipulate that they're going to divide the gains in proportion to their contribution. They would have to share it equally. Why? Since partners usually stipulate that the one who contributes more takes or loses a larger share, the fact that they did not do so means that they agreed to be equal partners. So it's a very interesting situation. We have here the 3 people who went there. The Mishnah's words are 3 people put their money into a business venture. If it goes up or down, the gain or loss is proportionate to the amount they put in. So that's all it says. So that, therefore, the Bartanura says that what the Mishnah means is that we're talking about a gain or loss in the value of the money itself. If we're talking about gains or losses in the business venture, in the business dealings, basically, what they purchased, right? Did it go up in price? Did it go down in price? There, the only time it's going to be proportionate to what they put in is if they stipulate when they made the partnership, okay, gains and losses go according to how much money you put in. But if they never said that and they're partners, then it comes out that anything that happens regarding the business, regarding what they put the money into, is shared equally because they're partners. Partners, the way the Bartanura explains, is typically will stipulate that everything is going to work based on the proportion of what was put in. But if they don't stipulate that, then without stipulating it, it means you're all equal. We're all equal when it comes to the profits. When it comes to the actual monies itself, okay, that's understood. My money. If there is a loss, I lose. You mean if there's a loss in the money, meaning they pool the money takes a loss. Okay, you take a loss according to how much money you took. That seems to be self-understood, that you're going to take a loss in the money itself of how much money you put in. When it comes to the profits or losses of the business ventures or of the business dealings, then already it has to be stipulated that it goes proportionate to what they put in. Otherwise, it's going to be equal. Have a wonderful day. A good night.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.